The observation deck of the Stellar Harmony hummed with the quiet efficiency of interspecies diplomacy. Ambassador Neha Chen stood near the viewport, her hands clasped behind her back as she watched the swirling nebula paint the darkness in shades of violet and gold. The peace negotiations between the Terran Federation and the Arachnoid Collective had been proceeding smoothly for 3 days. But she could sense the underlying tension that rippled through every conversation. Across the deck, Chief Engineer Adnan Malik was pretending to calibrate an atmospheric processor while stealing glances at their hosts. The arachnoids were magnificent creatures, 8-legged beings with chitinous exoskeletons that gleamed like polished obsidian, their multiple eyes reflecting intelligence that had built civilizations while humanity was still discovering fire. Yet every time one of them moved, Adnan's jaw would tighten, and his gaze would track their graceful spider-like locomotion with something that looked unsettlingly like revulsion. "You keep staring at my legs, human," came a voice like wind chimes made of crystal. "What bothers you so much?" Adnan froze, his diagnostic scanner nearly slipping from his hands. Ambassador Veltar had approached silently, her 8 legs moving in perfect coordination across the deck plating. Her primary eyes focused on him, while her secondary ones monitored the rest of the room. A disconcerting trait that most humans found unnerving. I wasn't staring," Adnan stammered, his face flushing red. "I was just observing, yes." Veltar's mandibles clicked in what the translation matrix interpreted as amusement. "Your species fascinates us, Engineer Malik. You claim to seek unity among the stars, yet you cannot hide your primitive fear responses." Neha turned from the viewport, recognizing the delicate moment that could either strengthen or shatter 3 days of careful diplomacy. She moved closer, her diplomatic training kicking in. But Veltar raised one elegant leg to pause her approach. "No, Ambassador. I believe your engineer wishes to speak for himself." The arachnoid's multifaceted eyes glittered. "Don't you, human?" Adnan set down his scanner and took a deep breath. The words that came next weren't what anyone expected. "You're right. I was staring. But not because I'm afraid." He met Veltar's primary gaze directly, something few humans had managed during the negotiations. "I was trying to figure out how you do it." "Do what?" "Move like that." Adnan gestured to her legs. 8 independent limbs, perfect coordination, never a wasted motion. Do you know what it would take for a human to achieve that level of motor control? Our brains aren't wired for it. We can barely manage 2 legs without tripping over ourselves half the time. Veltar's posture shifted slightly. Surprise, according to the xenobiology briefings. "You were studying my locomotion? Your entire species represents a level of biological engineering that my people can only dream of achieving," Adnan continued, his initial nervousness replaced by genuine enthusiasm. 8-point contact with any surface, distributed weight-bearing, redundant stability systems. If one of your legs is injured, you barely slow down. Humans lose 1 leg, and our entire mobility paradigm collapses. The arachnoid ambassador was silent for a long moment, her secondary eyes focusing on Adnan while her primaries remained fixed on his face. Around the observation deck, other members of both delegations had noticed the conversation and were listening with barely concealed interest. "You see advantage in our physiology," Veltar said finally. "I see perfection." Adnan's voice carried a note of awe that made several humans in the room shift uncomfortably. "Your people evolved on high-gravity worlds with unstable terrain. Every aspect of your biology is a solution to challenges that would kill most species. Those legs aren't just appendages, they're survival itself, refined over millions of years." Neha watched as something shifted in Veltar's demeanor. The rigid formality that had characterized the arachnoid delegation's interactions was melting away, replaced by something that looked almost like curiosity. "Your own species puzzles us equally," Veltar admitted. 2 legs, minimal contact points, no natural armor. By all logic, humans should have been prey species. Yet here you are, spanning the galaxy, building ships that rival our own. "How?" Adnan grinned. The first genuine smile anyone had seen from him since the negotiations began. "Stubbornness, mostly. And cooperation. We're pack hunters by evolution. But we've learned to hunt problems instead of prey. Can't build a starship with 2 hands, so we use 2 million. Collective intelligence through voluntary cooperation," Veltar mused. "Yes, we've observed this trait. It should be inefficient, yet here we are," Neha interjected softly. two species that shouldn't have survived, negotiating the future of this sector. Veltar's legs shifted in what the translation matrix now identified as contemplative positioning. Engineer Malik, you said you were trying to understand how we move. Would you like to learn? The question caught everyone off guard. Adnan blinked. Learn? Our young spend months mastering 8-limb coordination. It begins with understanding the mathematics of weight distribution, the physics of leverage, the rhythm of alternating gaits. Veltar extended one elegant leg toward him. Perhaps a human perspective on our locomotion would benefit our understanding as well. Adnan stared at the offered appendage, then slowly reached out to touch it. The chitin was warm, surprisingly flexible, and covered in sensory hairs finer than human perception could normally detect. Incredible, he whispered. The surface area for tactile feedback alone. As Neha watched her engineer colleague and the arachnoid ambassador begin an impromptu lesson in xenobiology, she realized that the formal negotiations taking place in the conference rooms were less important than this moment. True understanding between species didn't come from treaties and trade agreements. It came from one being looking at another and seeing not a threat or an oddity, but a marvel worth comprehending. By the time the evening cycle began, Adnan was attempting to walk in an 8-point gait using his hands and feet, while Veltar observed his technique with what could only be described as scientific delight. The sight of a human engineer crawling across the deck, while an arachnoid ambassador offered biomechanical advice, had drawn spectators from both delegations, and the laughter, both human and the harmonic chittering that passed for arachnoid amusement, filled the observation deck. You know, Neha said to her counterpart, Ambassador Thexcal, as they watched the impromptu anatomy lesson, I think we might actually pull this peace treaty off. Indeed, Thexcal replied, her multiple eyes tracking the unlikely friendship developing before them. Though I suspect the real treaty was signed the moment your engineer stopped fearing our legs and started envying them instead. As the stellar harmony continued its journey through the nebula, carrying two species toward an uncertain but hopeful future, the observation deck echoed with the sounds of learning, understanding, and the quiet revolution that happens when curiosity conquers fear.